Hey everybody, what's up? It's Coach Patrick. Just jamming along to some tunes here today. Before I do my next weekly cast for you, this week we'll be talking about exploring a new sport adventure. One of the best parts about being a multi-sport athlete and leading a multi-sport community is the diversity of activities that people will come up with. Some interesting, some incredible, some perhaps a little risky, right? But all in, one of the best parts about being a coach of a multi-sport team is helping people solve different challenges. Like that's really what's exciting to me. And I think ultimately what's exciting to a lot of athletes is they make the bridge from a sport that they've gotten to know and love and become accustomed to, and then transition to a new sport. Having variety in your sport is actually really important. So while we do want to focus and specialize, and specialization brings its own rewards, also a lack of diversity can be a consequence of that specialization. And by lack of diversity, I mean you're simply not doing different movements, you're not exploring different pathways, you're not learning at the same pace at which you learned early on. So when we learn something new, like let's say you and I decide to take up woodworking, and because we're best buddies, like I love being your buddy, you're the best, and we want to do some woodworking. Well, we get new tools, we got to get the workshop set up, we got to figure out how to use them, how to clean them, what they cut, like which tool is the right tool for the job. There's a ton of learning, right? Like super, like neurons being like on fire, like new pathways being burned, new connections as we're figuring this out. But after a while, you've learned those skills, and maybe there's like a little bit more to learn. But after say the first 6 months, you've learned almost everything there is to learn. And then it becomes a matter of honing your skill, right? Becoming more precise, more detailed. And the same thing happens from an athletic perspective as well. We start a new sport, we perform, we learn, we refine, we eliminate the things that are not good. We have more of the good stuff, and eventually we get to a place where we're pretty darn good at what we do, or at least we're getting out of it what we want to based on what we put into it. Now, new sports give us an opportunity to rekindle that learning process and to also dive into some new aspects of your own physiology, perhaps understanding your body and how you function and how you perform in a way that's different than you have to this date, simply because you've been in this sort of one path or one lane highway before. So, new sports are actually an important part of becoming a well rounded athlete, which is to say, doing things that you're not good at is sometimes as important, if not more important, than doing things that you are good at. Simply to just learn new skills and again have a different perspective, right? You may think that you're a super strong runner, but maybe you're only strong running on road and not on the trails, right? Trail running is very different. You may feel like you're a very fast cyclist, and you are with like a $10,000 bike and $2,000 wheels and perfect skin suit, but you're not fast at all if you're off road, right? Or if you've got to do something else. And so you're good at some elements of a discipline, but new sports bring that opportunity to branch out. And it really matters, from a developmental perspective. Like for example, U.S. Olympic Committee recommends that athletes don't specialize until they're really 14. We want athletes to take a variety of different sports because they're going to learn different skills. We really don't know what athletes are that adept at or into until a certain part as they age. Similarly, as we age well beyond 14, mind you, the opportunity to explore new sports gives us a chance to challenge our preconceptions about ourselves, to highlight new skills, and to get better at all manner of things, even our core sport, as it were. I'm not saying leave it behind, just trying to change things up a little bit. All right. So, in order for us to break out of those areas, we've got to have the ability to improve rapidly at this new sport. And so I introduced to you what I call our 80-20 rule for the transition piece, right? So you maybe be familiar with Pareto's law, the 80-20 rule, that 80% of the people do 20% of the work, 20% of the people do 80% of the work, the sort of 80-20 ratio. I'll bring that ratio to you here as we think about joining into and participating and eventually hopefully becoming successful at a new sport. So number one, new sports, 80% training, 20% mastering the nuances. So let's say you're becoming an ultra runner. There's a lot of work you have to do to become a successful ultra runner. You've got to do a lot of running, a lot of hiking, getting to places where you can run and hike that are specific, new equipment, mastering, all elements of your body and understanding your limits within the context of the new sport and what you're good at, what you're not good at. Like a lot of that comes just out of training. But 20% is about what are the nuances, right? So for example, there's a lot of running downhill in ultra running, but not running up. How do we get better at running downhill? We want to really hone in on that and strengthen our body and to prepare for it, right? A lot of time on your feet means sleep deprivation for some of these longer races. How do you manage that? How do you balance that? How do you manage to get good rest and adequate rest within the context of a long race? That's one of the nuances of ultra running that allows you to really sort of rapidly advance. And it's not just about work, not just about training. Okay. Another 80-20 rule, your personal strengths, right? So 80% your personal strengths will help you, 20% new skills. So we want to pick a sport that's really a good bridge for you. So I picked ultra running before, we'll stick with it. If I'm a triathlete, I'm already running a fair amount. Transitioning to ultra running is something I'm comfortable with. I have running shoes, I have a running habit, I have a running watch. Um, I'm run resilient, if you will. I may not be of the ultra level of resilience, but I'm there. The 20%, that comes from new skills. I mentioned earlier about that running downhill piece, right? So there's a new skill you have to develop that has not been important to you before. Maybe, for example, wearing a camelback and hydrating on the go is actually a new skill for you when really didn't do a lot of hydrating on the run in your Olympic distance triathlon career. You just waited for aid stations or just ran and got home, right? So all of a sudden, there's some new skills that matter. And when I think about it, we want to work off of your strengths. So do the things that you know, train the way that works for you based on your experience in your original sport, but understand at the same time that there's going to be about a 20%, one day out of five, right? One time out of five where we say, hey, there's something new I've got to pick up here. What can I do? And optimizing yourself for some of that learning, but not all of it, because it's easy to get overwhelmed, but also not being rigid and thinking, oh, ultra running is just like running a marathon, which I've done before. So I don't need to change anything. Finding that balance of that 80-20 will be critical. All right. Next one here, 80% experience, 20% learning new stuff. So this is less about the strengths side, and this is more about your biases and the things you bring to the table. So you have a lot of experience as a racer, as an athlete, about your body and your limits. You can do so much for so long. The food that's your go-to. You know how much rest you need after how much work. All of those different pieces of the puzzles. You have all of that. You want to capture that and bring that understanding over to your new sport. But at the same time, there's a ton of stuff we need to learn. That transition to ultra running, for example, means that I'm not doing as much swimming and cycling. So I will actually need more recovery than I had before. Now, I could learn something new and perhaps accelerate my recovery, whether it's through tools, strategies, or nutrition. But the old way, where I counted on easy swim days or easy bike days to kind of fill in my time, no longer an option, because now I'm in the ultra run mode and I'm doing so much time. So that learning piece is really important, right? So always being eyes open in a new sport, understanding what's out there, bringing in all the information, but making sure that we're really just picking a couple key items, whether that's going to your teammates and getting advice, or looking at all the panoply of options when you go to a new sport, a new race, or just read up about it, and focus in on a couple ones that you can really get good at, so you can check those off the box. Begin to move those from the new column to the experience column, so we can start to attack some of those subsequent challenges that will become important. All right. And then last but not least, new sports, 80% learning as you go, 20% dumb luck. So you're going to sign up for a race. Say we do this ultra 50-mile race on Catalina Island. There's going to be a bunch of stuff that goes wrong, but somehow we survive because we're fit and we make good decisions based off our previous history. And we know our bodies and our limits. That's great, right? But then also 20% just dumb luck. Like you avoided that pothole you never saw, right? You didn't get enough sleep, but it wasn't a consequence because the weather wasn't so bad, right? Or the weather was super bad, but it changed before the race and things were okay. And you didn't have a hot weather plan, but then turns out you didn't need one. You were freaking out, but you didn't need one. So you lucked out. So do understand that learning as you go is a critical component to mastering any endurance sport. And the lessons are all around you. You just have to have your eyes open, be ready enough to learn up from it, right? Learn from others, learn from their habits, people you're talking to, people you just watch, people you read about. All of that matters, as you're trying to hack that curve and learn faster. At the same time, it's important to recognize that dumb luck plays a large role in our success as endurance athletes. We're out there for a long time, and all manner of things can and do go wrong. And sometimes it's just a matter of the draw. That sometimes you'll have an event that went off like a hitch, had no issues whatsoever, and everyone's applauding you for what you did, and you realize that you didn't do anything differently, but you did luck out quite a bit. Luck is fine. Luck favors the prepared, so it doesn't mean that you just count on luck. It's only 1/5 of the time, after all. But it is important to recognize that sometimes things happen your way because of luck, and sometimes they don't. And it's not really you, although it's tempting to blame yourself or someone else. Sometimes it's just the way the cookie crumbles. So having a healthy appreciation for the luck you get and respect for the luck that you didn't, and making plans to improve it so you can close that gap, have the race that you deserve. In summary, I 100% recommend that you make the bridge. We have athletes who are going in Ironman distance triathlon to ultra running, Ironman distance triathlon to gravel racing. We have people who are doing aqua bike to ultra cycling. We have people who are doing mountain biking to, ultra cycling, ultra distance cycling. And we have all manner of athletes sort of making these transitions. And of course, all of those disciplines have different distances and are more or less user friendly, depending on what you're looking at. At the end of the day, there's endurance athletes involved. So it's going to be a good vibe and some good times. The key for you is finding a sport that you can sustain and participate in at a level that makes sense for you, that fits where you live now, and ultimately will hopefully lead to some complementary growth in your original sport of choice, should you even go back. Who knows? The world is a big, big rock. There's plenty of things to do when we're on it. You can swim, you can bike, you can run, you can hike, you can glide, you can cycle, you can downhill run, you can slide, you can roll, you can bungee jump. It's all out there. I look forward to seeing what you all come up with for your craziness. If you've got questions or comments about a specific ultra sport or endurance sport here that I have not mentioned, put them in the comments and make sure you tag me. I'll be happy to answer you. Otherwise, this is Coach Patrick from Endurance Station signing off. Thanks again for tuning in. It's part of our weekly cast series where we give you updates to make you a smarter and faster athlete. Those of you looking to learn more can go to enduranceStation.us, sign up for our newsletter. You have an opportunity to join our membership waitlist. We'll tell you more about the team, get you all spun up and ready for next season. Take care, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.